Martin Luther King Jr., The Dream of Equality. Hello and welcome to Beginner Bio Stories. Today we will learn about Martin Luther King Jr. He was a great leader. He fought for equal rights for all people. He used peaceful ways to make change happen. Martin Luther King Jr. was born in 1929. He lived in Atlanta, Georgia. This was in the southern United States. At that time, black people and white people had different rules. Black people could not go to the same schools as white people. They could not eat at the same restaurants. They had to sit in different parts of buses. This was called segregation. Martin was a smart boy. He loved to read books. He also loved to learn new things. His father was a preacher. His grandfather was also a preacher. Martin wanted to help people too. Chapter 1: Growing Up. Martin Luther King Jr. was born on January 15, 1929. His full name was Michael King Jr. Later, his father changed both their names to Martin Luther King. His father was Martin Luther King Sr. His mother was Alberta Williams King. Martin had a sister named Christine. He also had a brother named Alfred Daniel. They lived in a nice house on Auburn Avenue. This street was in the black part of Atlanta. When Martin was young, he had white friends. They played together every day. But when Martin started school, something sad happened. The white children had to go to different schools. Martin could not play with his white friends anymore. This made Martin very sad and angry. Martin's parents explained segregation to him. They told him that black people had to follow different rules. But they also told him something important. They said that all people are equal. They said that skin color does not matter. They taught Martin to be proud of who he was. Martin was a very good student. He loved to read books. He could read before he started school. He also loved to give speeches. Even as a young boy, Martin could talk very well. People liked to listen to him speak. Martin went to elementary school at David T. Howard Elementary School. Later, he went to Booker T. Washington High School. Martin was so smart that he skipped 2 grades. He finished high school when he was only 15 years old. Chapter 2: Education and Early Ideas. After high school, Martin went to Morehouse College. This was a college for black men in Atlanta. Martin was still very young. He was only 15 years old when he started college. At first, Martin did not know what he wanted to study. He thought about becoming a doctor. He also thought about becoming a lawyer. But then something changed his mind. Martin learned about a man from India named Mahatma Gandhi. Gandhi fought for his people's rights. But Gandhi did not use violence. He used peaceful protests instead. Gandhi believed that love was stronger than hate. This idea changed Martin's life. Martin also studied the teachings of Jesus Christ. Jesus taught people to love their enemies. He taught people to help others. Martin began to see how he could help his people. He could use Gandhi's peaceful methods and Jesus's teachings about love. Martin decided to become a preacher like his father. He studied religion and philosophy. He learned about many great thinkers. He learned how to give powerful speeches. In 1948, Martin graduated from Morehouse College. He was only 19 years old. Then he went to Rosa Seminary in Pennsylvania. This was a school for people who wanted to become preachers. At Rosa Seminary, Martin was one of only 6 black students. Most of the students were white. At first, this was hard for Martin, but he worked very hard. He became the best student in his class. He graduated first in his class in 1951. After Rosa Seminary, Martin went to Boston University. He studied for his PhD degree. This is the highest degree you can get. While he was in Boston, Martin met a young woman named Coretta Scott. Chapter 3: Marriage and Montgomery. Coretta Scott was studying music in Boston. She was from Alabama. Martin and Coretta fell in love. They got married on June 18, 1953. Coretta became Martin's partner in life and in his work for civil rights. After Martin finished his studies, he needed to find a job. He got a job as a preacher at Dexter Avenue Baptist Church. This church was in Montgomery, Alabama. Martin and Coretta moved to Montgomery in 1954. Montgomery was a very segregated city. Black people had to follow many unfair rules. They could not eat at white restaurants. They could not go to white schools. On buses, black people had to sit in the back. If the bus was full, black people had to give their seats to white people. On December 1, 1955, something important happened. A black woman named Rosa Parks was riding the bus home from work. The bus was full. The bus driver told Rosa to give her seat to a white man. Rosa said no. She was arrested and taken to jail. The black people of Montgomery were very angry about this. They decided to do something. They decided not to ride the buses. This was called a bus boycott. They chose Martin Luther King Jr. to be their leader. Martin was only 26 years old. He was young to be a leader, but he was smart and brave. He could give great speeches. The people trusted him. The bus boycott was not easy. Black people had to walk to work every day. Some walked many miles. It was hot in summer and cold in winter, but they did not give up. White people were very angry about the boycott. They threatened Martin and his family. Someone threw a bomb at Martin's house, but Martin did not give up. He told his followers to stay peaceful. He said they should not fight back with violence. The bus boycott lasted for 381 days. It was more than a year. Finally, the Supreme Court made a decision. They said that segregation on buses was against the law. Black people could sit anywhere on the bus. The Montgomery bus boycott was a great success. It made Martin Luther King Jr. famous around the world. It showed that peaceful protest could work. Chapter 4: The Civil Rights Movement. After the Montgomery bus boycott, Martin became the most important leader of the civil rights movement. The civil rights movement was a fight for equal rights for black people. In 1957, Martin helped start an organization called the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. This group organized peaceful protests all across the South. Martin was the president of this group. Martin traveled all around the country. He gave speeches about civil rights. He organized protests and marches. He always told people to stay peaceful. He said that hate could not drive out hate. Only love could do that. In 1960, black college students started a new kind of protest. They would sit at lunch counters in white restaurants. The restaurants would not serve them, but the students would stay and sit quietly. This was called a sit-in. Martin supported these students. He joined them in their protests. In 1960, Martin was arrested during a sit-in in Atlanta. This made him even more famous. Martin wrote many books and articles. He explained why civil rights were important. He wrote about his ideas for peaceful protest. His most famous letter was written from a jail cell in Birmingham, Alabama. In 1963, Martin organized a big protest in Birmingham. Birmingham was one of the most segregated cities in America. The police chief there was very mean to black people. His name was Bull Connor. The Birmingham protests were very hard. The police used dogs and water hoses against the protesters. Many people were arrested, including Martin. The whole world saw what was happening on television. People were shocked by the violence against peaceful protesters. But the Birmingham protests worked. The city agreed to end segregation in stores and restaurants. They agreed to hire black workers. This was a great victory for the civil rights movement. Chapter 5. I Have a Dream. After Birmingham, Martin planned the biggest civil rights event ever. It was called the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom. The march was planned for August 28, 1963. People came from all over America to join the march. About 250,000 people came to Washington, D.C. Most of them were black, but many white people came too. They all wanted equal rights for everyone. The march was peaceful and beautiful. People sang songs and carried signs. The signs said things like, "We march for jobs," and equal rights for all Americans. At the end of the march, Martin gave a speech. It was on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial. This speech became the most famous speech in American history. It was called the I Have a Dream speech. In his speech, Martin talked about his dream for America. He dreamed of a country where black children and white children could be friends. He dreamed of a place where people would be judged by their character, not by their skin color. Martin said, "I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal." The speech was so powerful that it made many people cry. It was shown on television all around the world. Millions of people heard Martin's dream. The March on Washington was a huge success. It showed that black people and white people could work together. It put pressure on the government to pass new civil rights laws. Chapter 6. Success and Challenges. After the March on Washington, good things started to happen. In 1964, the United States Congress passed the Civil Rights Act. This law made it illegal to discriminate against people because of their race. Black people could now eat at any restaurant. They could stay at any hotel. They could go to any school. Also in 1964, Martin Luther King Jr. won the Nobel Peace Prize. He was only 35 years old. He was the youngest person ever to win this prize. The Nobel Peace Prize is given to people who work for peace in the world. Martin was very happy about winning the prize, but he said the prize was not just for him. It was for all the people who worked for civil rights. He gave all the prize money to the civil rights movement. In 1965, Martin organized another big march. This march was in Selma, Alabama. Black people in Selma wanted to vote, but they were not allowed to register. Martin organized a march from Selma to Montgomery, the state capital. The first march was on March 7, 1965. It was called Bloody Sunday because the police attacked the marchers. They used clubs and tear gas. Many people were hurt. The whole world saw this violence on television. 2 weeks later, Martin led another march from Selma to Montgomery. This time, 25,000 people joined the march. It took 5 days to walk from Selma to Montgomery. The march was successful and peaceful. Because of the Selma March, Congress passed the Voting Rights Act in 1965. This law made it easier for black people to vote. It removed many unfair barriers that had stopped black people from voting. But not everyone supported Martin Luther King Jr. Some white people hated him because he was changing their way of life. Some black people thought Martin was too slow. They wanted to use violence to get results faster. Martin was often threatened. People said they would kill him. His house was watched by the police. But Martin continued his work. He said he was not afraid to die for what he believed in. Chapter 7: Expanding the Dream. In his later years, Martin Luther King Jr. began to work on other problems too. He saw that many black people were poor. They did not have good jobs. They lived in bad neighborhoods. Martin wanted to help poor people of all races. In 1968, Martin started planning a new march. It was called the Poor People's Campaign. He wanted to bring poor people from all over America to Washington, D.C. He wanted the government to create jobs and build better houses for poor people. Martin also spoke out against the Vietnam War. Many young American men were fighting in Vietnam. Martin thought this war was wrong. He said America should spend money on helping poor people, not on fighting wars. Some people did not like Martin's new ideas. They thought he should only work on civil rights for black people. But Martin believed that all problems were connected. He said that poverty, racism, and war were all related. Martin also traveled to other countries. He went to India to learn more about Gandhi's ideas. He went to places where poor people lived. He saw that the problems in America were similar to problems all over the world. Even though Martin faced many challenges, he never gave up hope. He continued to believe that people could change. He continued to preach about love and nonviolence. He said that darkness could not drive out darkness. Only light could do that. Chapter 8: The Final Days. In March 1968, Martin went to Memphis, Tennessee. The garbage workers there were on strike. They were mostly black men who were paid very little money. They wanted better pay and better working conditions. Martin went to Memphis to help the garbage workers. He gave speeches and organized marches. He believed that all workers deserved fair pay and dignity. On April 3, 1968, Martin gave a speech in Memphis. It was at Mason Temple. In this speech, Martin talked about the difficulties he had faced. He said he had seen the promised land. He said he might not get there with his people, but they would get there. Martin said, "I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we, as a people, will get to the promised land." The next day, April 4, 1968, Martin was staying at the Lorraine Motel in Memphis. He was getting ready to go to dinner. He was standing on the balcony of his room. At 6:01 in the evening, a shot rang out. Martin Luther King Jr. was killed by a bullet. The man who killed Martin was named James Earl Ray. He was a white man who hated black people. Ray was caught and sent to prison for the rest of his life. Martin Luther King Jr. was only 39 years old when he died. He had spent his whole adult life fighting for civil rights. He had brought great changes to America, but there was still more work to do. When people heard that Martin had been killed, there were riots in many cities. People were very angry and sad. Over 100 cities had riots. Many buildings were burned. Many people were hurt. But Martin's wife, Coretta Scott King, asked people to remember Martin's teachings. She asked them to continue his work peacefully. She said that violence was not what Martin would have wanted. Conclusion: Martin Luther King Jr. died on April 4, 1968, but his dream did not die with him. His work changed America forever. Because of Martin and other civil rights leaders, black people gained equal rights under the law. Today, black people and white people can go to the same schools. They can eat at the same restaurants. They can live in the same neighborhoods. Black people can vote freely. They can run for any political office. Martin Luther King Jr. showed the world that big changes can happen through peaceful protest. He proved that love is stronger than hate. He showed that ordinary people can do extraordinary things when they work together. Every year on the third Monday in January, America celebrates Martin Luther King Jr. Day. This is a national holiday. Schools and offices are closed. People remember Martin's life and work. They also think about how they can continue his dream. Martin Luther King Jr.'s most famous words were, "I have a dream." His dream was that all people would be treated equally. His dream was that people would be judged by their character, not by their skin color. His dream was that all of God's children could live together in peace. Martin's dream has not been fully realized yet. There is still racism in the world. There are still poor people who need help. There are still wars and violence. But Martin's dream gives people hope. It reminds us that we can make the world a better place. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy." Martin stood up for what was right, even when it was dangerous. He chose love over hate. He chose peace over violence. He chose hope over despair. Martin Luther King Jr. was a great leader, but he was also an ordinary person. He had fears and doubts like everyone else, but he did not let fear stop him from doing what was right. He showed us that one person can make a difference in the world. Today, people all over the world still remember Martin Luther King Jr. They study his speeches and writings. They try to follow his example of peaceful protest and love for all people. His legacy lives on in the hearts of people who believe in equality and justice. Martin Luther King Jr.'s life teaches us many important lessons. It teaches us to stand up for what is right. It teaches us to help others, especially those who are suffering. It teaches us that we should never give up on our dreams, no matter how impossible they seem. The most important lesson from Martin's life is that love is the most powerful force in the world. Love can overcome hate. Love can bring people together. Love can change hearts and minds. Love can make the impossible possible. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that." These words are still true today. They remind us that the way to solve problems is through love, understanding, and working together. Martin Luther King Jr. gave his life for his dream of equality and justice. His sacrifice was not in vain. His dream lives on in every person who believes that all people are created equal. His dream lives on in every act of kindness and love. His dream lives on in the hope that one day all people will truly be free. Thank you for listening to the story of Martin Luther King Jr. Remember his words, "I have a dream." What is your dream for making the world a better place? How can you help make Martin's dream come true? The future depends on all of us working together to build a world of love, peace, and equality for everyone.